My parents punished me for years because they thought I was faking my disability as a toddler, so I hid my life-saving surgery from them. Now, my mother's guilt from my Facebook post has her begging to make amends for everything she did. Hi all. History. I, 30F, come from an extremely low-income, uneducated, and prejudiced family, basically Midwestern rednecks. I was born with a disability that affects how I walk. Growing up, my parents did not believe that my inability to walk normally was a disability. They, mainly my father, my mom just kind of went along with him, thought I was doing it for attention or to spite them or something, even as a toddler. Because of this, I was punished for walking the only way I am physically able to, which means I was basically punished constantly for about 7 to 8 years until a teacher had a sit down with my parents and strongly suggested they take me to see someone. At this point, the disability was identified, and the doctor suggested surgery, which my family could not afford. So I spent a number of years in leg braces, physical therapy, etc., which did not work, as it is a congenital disability. My parents and family, despite being told what was going on, still blamed me for my condition. They believed that I faked this disability long enough as a baby and toddler, that I eventually made my body this way. They have always been resentful because of that, and used to constantly remind me how much money they had to shell out for my problem. Throughout my childhood, other kids constantly teased me about my condition. I was in leg braces when Forrest Gump came out, yelled at and punished by my parents, and criticized by extended family and other adults, even strangers at the grocery store. People even commented on it in my receiving line at my wedding 2 years ago. I spent years learning a fake normal walk for when I cannot wear shoes, developing a thick skin, and learning to laugh at myself. Everyone I meet has reminded me of this condition, and everyone I know on a constant basis for my entire life. At this point, it is such a strong part of who I am as a person and my resiliency. I don't even think of it as a disability, really, just a part of who I am. The problem, at this point, I'm 30. Over the past decade or so, I have had a lot of problems with my feet because of the unusual weight distribution pattern I place on them attempting to walk. Over the last year, though, I started noticing signs of nerve damage, numbness, tingling, and shooting pain which renders me barely able to walk at times. My doctor strongly stressed revisiting an orthopedic surgeon. At my consultation, the surgeon was shocked. He kept asking me questions with this incredulous look on his face, taking pictures with his phone, and commenting on how surprised he was that I could walk and I can at this point. He said it is one of the most severe cases he has ever seen of this particular condition, as most are fixed in childhood via surgery. The imaging of my lower extremities showed tissue damage and nerve impingement, making surgery a necessity at this point. So I scheduled a surgery a couple months from now. I have had a lot of weird feelings about this since scheduling the surgery. The first concerns how and when I am going to tell my family. For years I have completely avoided any talk of my condition, and generally ignore all of the comments made by everyone, still walking like a freak, huh? And the like. I know my parents still believe I did this to myself. Even though I have developed a pretty thick skin to others, I still get emotional thinking about the abuse, shame, and humiliation I suffered at the hands of my parents and family all throughout my childhood because of this. I am afraid that it is all going to boil back to the surface when I tell them, and start a fight. We already have a tepid relationship, and I do not want to make it worse. The other weird feeling I have pertains to the feeling that I am fixing something. I know that at this point, it is either surgery or losing the use of my lower legs over the next few years. However, it feels like I am losing a piece of me. I have spent 30 years telling myself that there is nothing wrong with me. Finally fixing my condition feels like I am agreeing with everyone, that there was something inherently wrong with me all along. The surgeon said I would have to relearn how to walk, run, jump, etc. I am excited to know what it feels like to walk on 2 good legs, but at the same time, I start to cry even thinking about changing this part of me forever. It is part of me. This is how I was created. Fixing it makes it seem like I agree that I was made wrong. I do not know how to make peace with that feeling. Edit. Holy cannoli, I came home from school to see this, and oh my goodness. Thank you all for your kind words and support. I'm truly reading all the comments, even if I cannot respond to all of them. I want to thank you all so much. Your comments made me laugh, cry, and seriously think about a lot of things in my life related to my family. I wanted to address some points that I have seen come up a couple times, for better clarification. My family no longer thinks I am faking. At this point, they believe that I faked my condition as a baby and toddler, and that led to the condition I live with today, kind of like if you keep making that face it is going to stick that way mentality. There is absolutely no getting through to them about this, so I just ignore it. I grew up in a poor, uneducated, generally abusive household with an abusive alcoholic father and an enabler for a mother. I have been in therapy off and on for almost a decade now, but really started to make progress a few years ago when I started seeing my current psychiatrist, so no worries on my current mental health. Although I still have a lot of problems related to my family history and other things that happened, I am in the best possible place now, and actively dealing with it. The reason I still keep my family in my life is because of a few reasons. One, of course, is the unconditional love I feel for them. As horrible as some of them have been, deep down I will always want to help them and hope that things will get better. I realize this is stupid of me, but I have been working at limiting my exposure to them for a number of years now, and it is a slow process. Another reason, which I know is also probably stupid, is for the sake of my other family members. I am very protective of my family, and in my teen years established something of a caretaker and head of household role with them when my dad's alcoholism got really bad. I cannot handle the thought of the stress and pain I would cause my mom and siblings if I were to cut them out of my life. I do not know if I could do that to them. I do love them, as flawed as they are. After reading through most of the great comments you guys left, I think I am going to simply get the surgery and not say anything. I live across the country from my family, and only see them 1 to 2 times a year for a week or so at a time. I probably will not be seeing them again until next Christmas. I could potentially get the surgery and mostly recover by then. If they notice, they notice. I realize by reading your comments that I do not owe them an explanation. If they push about it, I will do what I normally do, and leave the situation before I get upset. It is not of their concern what I do with my body. Thank you also very much for your kind words, they mean the world to me. Update, 3 months later. Hi everyone. I was so overwhelmed by the positive responses and well wishes back when I posted about this, that I thought I would update all of you on how things are going. So I had my surgery about a month ago, and it went well without any complications. I was in excruciating pain for the first couple days, but my husband was by my side 24/7 to help out. He had a week off from his work, so it worked out nicely, and I was able to wean myself off the narcotic painkillers they gave me after about 5 to 6 days. Since then, I have been on crutches, and still have about another 3 or so weeks of crutches to go, most likely. I do not want to get crazy specific about what my disability or surgery was for privacy purposes, so unfortunately that is all I can really say about it. It has been tedious, but the great thing about recovering from an injury or surgery, I suppose, is learning a new level of patience and endurance. I am really happy with my recovery so far and the results I am seeing already. I cannot wait until I am recovered and strong enough to try walking without the crutches or any other device, and see what it is like. Leading up to the surgery and immediately after, I did not tell anyone about it, not even my closest friends. I was kind of afraid of how words might get around, if people would bring it up or something. It got really difficult, though, to keep the secret, as my husband and I had to be careful about what we said and who we said it to. It felt like we were sneaking around, like we had something to be ashamed of. Finally, I told a couple close friends, who were very supportive. I was not planning on telling my family, but I finally did. I felt like I was lying by omission when my mom would call and ask how everything was, anything new, etc., and I would just try to act normal. I finally told her, plain and simple, yeah, so I had surgery about 2.5 weeks ago. She was pretty shocked, and she seemed genuinely hurt that I had not told her, not in what she said, but in her tone. She asked me why I had not mentioned anything, and I said that it had always been a very tense subject in the family, and I did not want to bring it up. I somehow think it got to her. She seemed genuinely regretful of the situation. She was speaking to me with shame in her voice. We did not talk long, as I was studying, but later that night, I just kind of thought, to hell with it, and made a Facebook post coming out to my friends and other family members and letting them know what I had done. I wrote a narrative about what it was like growing up being different, the rude and hurtful things people would say, the feelings of shame and isolation that I felt, and how those feelings were so strong that I was debating whether or not I should even tell anyone. It was a positive post though, overall, as I tried to remind people that individuals with disabilities should not be treated like an outcast or an exhibit. And honestly, I do not have time or room in my heart to feel angry or resentful. I am so hopeful for the future and looking forward to normal mobility. Everyone was incredibly supportive about the post, and my parents called me a bunch of times in the days after. We played phone tag a bit, and when I finally talked to my mom a couple days ago, she said she wanted to start looking at flights to come out here and visit me, and help out. I told her that was not necessary, that I was pretty used to the crutches now and the limited mobility I have. She said she hopes I can reconsider in the next couple days, as it would make her feel a little bit better to be able to help me out, cook, shop, etc. Apparently me getting the surgery and intentionally not telling them, coupled with a Facebook post that my mom saw, I did not call them out or anything in it, just talked in general about how difficult it was, made my parents feel horrendously guilty about the way I grew up and was treated. My mom wanted to try to make it up to me somewhat by flying out here and spending some time together. I appreciate the sentiment, and I'm glad they see the way they treated me in a new light. I do think I am honestly too busy in the next couple weeks to host a guest. I told her we could revisit the discussion in a couple weeks. So, everything is pretty great right now. I made peace a long time ago with the fact that I will never be completely comfortable or close with my family, but it is nice to know that people can change or try to. I really appreciate the effort my parents are putting in, even if it is not necessary. It is the thought that counts, I guess. I do not want to say I am glad they feel bad, but I am kinda glad they feel bad. It shows that they are human, maybe there is some hope there. Anyway, thank you all again so much for your kindness and support. Your replies and messages meant everything to me, even if I did not get around to responding to them. I read and appreciated each one. Here is to good health and a good life. Goodbye.